Hey guys, this is Steli FT with Close.io. Today I want to talk about what to do when you've been in the customer development phase for a really long time and you haven't yet found product market fit. Right? So I had a sales office hour with a founder the other day, and he was describing a case that I've heard too many times, and I've been there myself as a founder way too many times. They build a product, they got some traction, but it's not really enough. They just have a few people that are using the software, a few people that are considering paying, and they're kind of getting some lukewarm positive feedback, but not enough to get excited, not enough to actually get the growth that they need. So what to do? His specific question actually was, Steli, we're going through a list of 60 different verticals to cold email and pitch our solution to discover which vertical, which market, and which kind of customer base cares most about the solution that we've built. Can you help us? How should we go about this? How should we prioritize the verticals? How much should we customize the email messages? We've pivoted our solution in a couple of different directions over the last 6 to 9 months. We're still struggling to find kind of our real potential for growth, and here's what we're doing right now. Hopefully you can help us with figuring out how to get more successful with finding the right vertical. The funny thing is, I've written about cold emails and doing customer development, and we'll link up to in the show notes to a few blog posts that I wrote in the past that I think are useful. But the actual advice that I wanted to share with this guy had nothing to do with crafting the perfect cold email or doing customer development. It was more about stepping back and actually evaluating the entire strategy. Oh, and one more thing. He actually asked me, since we've been having a hard time getting some traction with the new verticals, we've considered to actually drop the price of our SaaS solution or even give the software away for free, just in order to get a bunch of people to use it and see if they like it, and not overcomplicate the customer development phase with charging money. So here's a couple of things to consider and a few real big risks. So when you're in that phase that you have something, but it hasn't quite hit that product market fit, you haven't quite seen the traction take off, yes, you should go out and do some exploration, see if there's some verticals or some markets that care about what you did more than others. But you have to be really, really careful to not step into one of these traps and make one of these really big mistakes. So number one, when you've been searching for a really long time for a market that really fits and works, you might become desperate and overly eager to look at signals and feedback in a positive way, right? So basically what you're describing to yourself and to me is that you've been having a solution, you've developed a solution, and now you're searching for somebody that has a strong enough problem for your solution. That's never a really good situation to be in. That doesn't mean that entrepreneurs and startups are not in that situation all the time, but it means that you've built something, before actually getting validation that there's a true problem in the market. So there's a few things to be worried about and a few risks to be aware of. Number one, should you go out and explore 60 different verticals? Probably not. Right? I like the idea of going out and testing with a bunch of different verticals and see if there's one market that is particularly interested in what you've built. But the issue with that is that you probably don't know these markets really well. And the kind of learnings you're going to create are going to be all the wrong kind of learnings. And what do I mean by wrong kind of learnings? There's going to be learnings about, I didn't know that designers cared about X, Y, and Z. We sent a bunch of emails to doctors and we realized secretaries are actually reading most of doctors' emails. There's going to be all kinds of surprising, interesting, fun fact things you're going to learn about these markets that are totally obvious to people that know these markets, that are totally obvious to insiders in these verticals and markets, but they're going to be really mind-blowing and new to you. And although that's nice and it kind of will broaden your view of the world and it'll leave you with a bit of interesting kind of social networking information that you can share with people at cocktail parties, it's not really going to drive your business forward. Those are the wrong kind of learnings because they really don't propel your business forward. You're learning things that are obvious to people that know that market. So you're wasting a lot of time because you're a novice, because you're a total stranger to that vertical and market. So how do you avoid that? You avoid that by going to markets first that preferably markets you're a part of. markets that you've been in and operated in for a very long time, or at least markets where you know people, you know insiders, so you can actually sit down in a 30-minute conversation with a friend of yours and learn all the basics without having to replicate these basic learnings step by step over weeks and weeks and sometimes even months, right? You're going to compress all that time and save yourself learning the basics of the market and going right into figuring out if these people are buyers of your solution, and if they're going to buy and how they're going to buy your solution, and then once they buy it, how they actually apply it and use it and get value out of it. So that's one big risk. So what I would tell these people, and what I told this guy, is you should, yes, do some exploration in terms of different markets and verticals, but don't go overboard. 6 is definitely too much. Maybe look at 5 to 10. And then be heavily biased towards the markets and verticals you've been part of, or you at least know somebody that has been part of those. Because in those markets and verticals, you're going to be able to make quicker learnings, get faster results, and not have to do really painful, obvious learnings and waste so much time in learning even the basics of how these people think and work. So that's number one. Number two, maybe you should step back and realize that you might have built something that's not just ready for exploration of different verticals and markets and people, but maybe you're working in an area that needs even broader customer development. So instead of contacting all these different people and pitching them your concrete solution and seeing if it fits their needs and if it solves their problems, maybe you should do interviews with these people that are much broader. Maybe you do a lot more open interviews where you actually ask these people, hey, what are some of the problems that you have? Hey, what are some of the challenges that you have? What are some of the tools and software that you use today to run your business that are great, and what are the ones that aren't? And what do you wish would exist in the world? Maybe you should go really broad and see if there's certain opportunities that may or may not be related to your solution, but that are big opportunities that you could go after to create real value in the world. And even one level below, if you don't want to go that broad, maybe you want to be a bit broader around the area of your solution. So instead of just asking people, hey, we've built something that allows for team collaboration, what exactly do you do in that area? And let me show what we've built, and let me, tell us if you need that or you don't. Maybe what you do instead is you actually just ask them, hey, how do you work with other people? What kind of tools do you use to actually get work done at work? What tools do you use to actually collaborate and communicate with your team? And keep things a lot broader in spirit to really learn more about your market and do very much first step customer development versus doing later stage customer development where you've already built the solution, you're now trying to fit it into some person's problem and needs. Okay, so those are some of the obvious big points. The other advice that I gave that person, that founder, and that I would give to anybody else more broadly is you absolutely have to charge, right? This is not surprising for people that know me. You absolutely and definitely have to charge to really gain customer development insight and signals that are much more important than just people being nice to you. So especially when you go to all these different verticals, you don't know if these people care enough about your solution if you don't ask them for a price. If they're willing to actually pay for it, it means that they care a lot more about it than some other people that are not quite ready to pay for it but would like to get it for free, right? So one of the situations that this founder had was that one potential customer liked their solution, but there was another solution built by Microsoft that was a lot cheaper, super cheap. So that person was just like, yeah, between Microsoft and you, I don't even care. I'm just going to go with a cheaper solution. And the guy was like, maybe we should have offered it for that potential customer for free. No. And here's why. When you're trying to do customer development, you shouldn't try to compete with established solutions by established companies out there that are mass market and a lot cheaper than you. There's only one road if you take that strategy, and that road is losing. What you want to do is you want to establish more value, create more customization, solve the problem in a much more powerful way. The person says, you know what? Microsoft solution is cool and cheap, but it's way too broad, too complex, too complicated. I don't like it because of reasons X, Y, and Z. Now, when I look over at your solution, yeah, your company is much smaller, but your solution is actually much more lightweight, cleaner, nicer, faster, more responsive. It does what I want it to do a lot better. That's the type of people that you want to get validation from, that you have a real market. So put a price tag on what you do in order to actually differentiate feedback. And besides that, what if 4 different verticals tell you all they're interested in what you're doing. How do you decide which one to focus on? I'll tell you how. Money, right? Look at the vertical that's willing to pay the most money, which means that that vertical, these kind of customers see a bigger promise of value in your solution to their lives than others. That's the group of people you should focus on, all right? And then last but not least, here's a crazy thing. As we were discussing, and this is a bonus tip to you guys in terms of customer development, pitfalls and mistakes, as we were talking about the kind of tool they built, I totally got it. Like, I liked it. It was a simple solution. The problem was that I didn't see a big enough issue in my life. I had this problem maybe once a month, once every 2 months. It was not big enough for me to adopt a new software into my life or even pay for it. So, but I had an idea for a long time for something that was kind of related to what they were doing. So I described them what I would want to exist in the world. I was like, oh, what you've built is kind of cool, but what I would really like to see is X, Y, and Z. And he got all excited about that because I made a pretty compelling and passionate pitch about it because I've been thinking about this idea for a long time. At the end of the conversation, he was like, you know what? It's crazy, Stelly. What you say makes total sense and super exciting. But a few weeks ago, I talked to this other really important founder and really successful entrepreneur, and he told me something completely different. And we started building some of the features based on the feedback I got from this guy. What do you think? Like, how do we take this feedback on when people tell us things that we think are really exciting and cool? Should we listen? Should we actually start building some of the things that you described, Stelly? And I said, fuck no. Please don't build that. Please don't waste any time, start building the thing that I just described to you. And he was like, well, really? Not even for you? I mean, we would build something you want. And I was like, yeah, but what I want even more than the solution that I described to you is I want you to succeed. And the fastest way for you to fail is to actually cater to my needs. Now, it's a different story if you go out and you do customer development and 100 different motherfuckers tell you the exact same thing. Yeah, go and build that, right? But just because one person tells you something, you shouldn't start building these features. That's stupid. That's the best way to zigzag into nothing, right? And the problem is that a lot of times when you talk to people, especially with people that seem experienced, that seem successful, whatever that means, quote unquote, that are very persuasive or intelligent and might be making a really good case for their ideas or their feedback, you might be tempted to take that on board too quickly, get excited by it too fast, and build things, that nobody else cares about other than that one person. So be really careful not to take feedback on board too quickly and be too eager to build things. Yes, look for patterns. If 100 different people tell you the same thing, you might be onto something. But if one person tells you to do A and the other person tells you to do B, be mindful and careful and cautious around taking feedback on board way too fast and implementing it into code and product way too soon. All right, I hope that's helpful to many founders that have been through this phase where you have something, you're just about to get it right, but you're struggling to find the right customers, the right market, the right product market fit. Be careful, look for different verticals, but look at the ones that you have intimate, knowledge about first and some kind of unfair competitive advantage. Still do some very broad customer development to keep your mind open for new solutions that you might not have seen. You might be in a phase where you have to kill what you've built and build something new. That's totally fine. And then always put a price tag on everything you do to make sure that you can validate and get more stronger signals within the different feedbacks that you get, who you should be focused on versus people who only like what you've built. And then last but not least, don't listen to single users. Don't listen to single customers. Look for patterns. Look for multiple people describing their pain and their desired solution the exact same way before you actually start building things.